to the world. In fact, I used to talk to the midwife, and she said that I was so sick that she had recommended that they just let me go back to heaven because I was not going to survive. But I had a grandmother who was determined that I was going to survive. I didn't walk till I was over 3 years old, you know, and that would have a German Shepherd dog named Daisy, and I'm told that would let me hang on to the dog and try to walk. So I was very sickly. I had rickets and all this kind of stuff, and so it was my grandmother who took me in as this sickly child. But my grandmother had a piano at her house, you see, and my mother passed when I was maybe 2, so I never really knew her. I didn't know the man who was my daddy. I met him when I was maybe 6 or 7. I didn't know. And so when this happened, I used to hear my grandmother loved to play the radio. That's all we had was radio. And she loved Duke Ellington. She loved Duke Ellington. And Johnny Hodges was playing the saxophone, and she said, "Everybody gotta be quiet. That's the Duke playing." And I would listen to that. I remember that, you know, that the Duke was playing. And she loved this tune, "In the Shade of the Old Apple Tree," that we were playing. John Hodges would play this sweet alto solo on this thing. And that just made her happy. And I said, you know, this lady loved me, wish I could make her happy like she listens to Duke, you know. So I used to go and try to play the piano. But she noticed that I was not banging on the piano like most children. I was physically trying to play the piano with fingers. And so she saw that. And I had an uncle, Uncle Ernest, who came in one day and showed me, I mean, finger for finger, note for note, where to put my fingers to play this song. At the time, I did not know the name of the song, but he showed me. So you put the thumb right here, this finger here, and you play this is called. Didn't tell me the name of it, but you go play this, then you go here, and I practiced it so hard till I had it down. I had it down. Little did I know that the name of that song was "Mood Indigo." Duke Ellington wrote that song. It was a Duke Ellington piece. So I could play "Mood Indigo," not knowing what I was playing, not knowing anything else about the piano, but I could play "Mood Indigo," you know. So this convinced her that I needed to take piano lessons. And piano lessons were 50 cents a lesson. But the lady lived way across town in Greenville, in a section called Newtown. And I had to walk over there to get my piano lessons. And I began to really not like that trip. I had to walk over there every time to go get that trip. And I went and I went and I went. And she taught me how to play some church hymns and things like that. So that happened. And sometimes I wouldn't go. I'd take that 50 cents and go to the movies. You know, that's where I spend the day and things like that. I hated that. Later on, I said I should have gone to my lesson, but that's what I did. But it was something that was always a part of me. So anyway, as time grew on, the principal came to the classroom that I was in and told me to go get in the band. He didn't ask me, he told me. See, we were scared of our principal, scared to death of him, you know, because he walked the hall, had these long fingers, and the finger was so like it bend back, he pointed at you like that, and scared you to death, you know. And so he came to the door, they called me Popeye. "Popeye, come here, you know, come here." Oh my goodness, what did I do? I'm trying to think, what did I do, Lord? You know, what did I do? Well, I don't recall doing anything, you know. He said, "Go down and tell that man I should put you in the band." "Yes, sir." That's all he do. He said, "Yes, sir." And so I went. And I went down, and the band director was white because he had a job of doing the white school and doing one class at the black school. So I went down there, and the director said, "What can I help you, young man?" I said, "Mr. Davenport sent me down here to be in the band." He said, "What do you play?" I said, "I don't play anything." He said, "What do you want to play?" So I don't know. He just told me to come down here and get in the band. He said, "What do you want to play?" I said, "Well," I looked around, I said, "I'll try those drums over there, you know." So he handed me 2 sticks. He handed me, I'll give him a pencil right there, so he gave me, he said, "Here, take these sticks like this. He didn't tell me how to hold it. I knew, he said, "Take them over there." He said, told us, "Get him a drum out there, you know." And so I said, "Now what do I do with these sticks, you know?" He said, well, now you're going to put one in here like this, make sure your thumb is crossing like this, and hold the other one in this finger like this. So I had my positions. I said, but now, how am I going to know what to do? So he showed me on the music.
You look good.
All right, well, thank you, sir, for coming out here to the Roundhouse today. As you know, this project is for the East Wilson Oral History Project, and basically we're trying to collect interviews, memories, recollections of people within this area, and not necessarily just East Wilson, but outer areas too, because we found a lot of people, know a lot more about other areas also.
Sure.
So I guess we'll start. If you could just please state your name for us.
My name is Bill Myers, and I'm the executive director of the Freeman Roundhouse.
And how long have you been here in Wilson, sir?
Since 1957.
1957.
October 22nd, 1957.
Now, where did you come from before you arrived in Wilson?
Well, I was born in Greenville, North Carolina. But when I came to Wilson, I had just been discharged from the Army, and I came to Wilson.
What brought you here?
A job that I was really not looking for. But my parents, I had been away in Korea for 2 years, and that was a job opening. The music teacher became ill in Elm City. School had already started, and the music teacher became ill, and my father heard about this opportunity, so he came in and asked me to go and apply, which I did on a Monday, and I think I started work the next day on a Tuesday. Yeah.
You said your father recommended you to take on the job. Was he in music also? Or?
No, my dad was an insurance man. Okay. But what was happening, because I had been away so long, and they said, and I really was going to a job that we had made in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places. That's where we were headed. But my folks said, listen, it's cold out there and it's so far from home. Why do you want to do that? Why don't you just get something here in this area, kind of be in the area for a little bit? And my grandmother was getting older and things like that, so that kind of prevailed on me. So I was playing in a nightclub in Greenville, and my dad came in and said, hey, there's a lady got sick in Elm City, North Carolina, and I want you to go over and interview her. I didn't even have a car. I had to borrow a car to go over and do that. So I drove to Elm City. Really didn't know where it was, but they told me it was on 301 highway between Wilson and Rocky Mountain. And so I found it and went in there, and the people were extremely nice. So it was just like I'd been knowing them for years. They greeted me at the door, took me to the principal's office. He in turn took me over to the superintendent's office, because at the time Elm City was a separate school unit. There was Elm City unit, Wilson County unit, and Wilson City unit. 3 school districts in one county. So they took me over there, and he liked what I had to say, and they gave me the job. So I went to work. I only planned to stay 1 year though, just 1 year before I pursued my own dreams. And but I got caught up in education. I really got caught up in it. I saw kids who I felt, I hate to use the word disadvantaged, but kids who needed more self-esteem, kids who didn't have a lot of pride in what they were doing there, who had no real aspirations, in my opinion, kids who had not seen a lot. I was careful. I tried to be careful not to criticize what they were doing as farmers and all, because farming is important. But I wanted them to know that there were other things, real other jobs, And some had never been to Raleigh, had never seen the ocean, things like, had never been in a movie theater, I was dismayed by that. I mean, there were kids playing basketball outdoors in shorts. Basketball is a winter sport, and because there was no gymnasium. But we as teachers were determined that these kids were going to experience everything that other kids were experiencing in their schools, kids who had those things. So we worked hard to make things for them. So I got caught up in the movement. I got caught up in the educational movement, and there I stayed.
But what year was this when you first went to Elm City?
1957.
57.
Yeah, 1957.
Now, was this a black school?
It was all black school. Grades at the time it was it was 1 through 12 when I got there. Later it became K through 12. But because I was a music teacher, I taught all of the students. I was in charge of the high school choir, the high school band. I taught general music to grades, every student in grades 1 through 8. I had another course called consumer music that I taught, and I was busy all day in that job. As I look back on it, and I said, how in the world did I do that? Because I literally taught every child in the school. So that's why, even as recently as yesterday, I was in Bojangles, and one of my kids walked up and said, Mr. Myers, you remember me? I said, no. He said, you taught me music in elementary school, you know. I said, well, you know, I taught everybody in there. So he has a business here in town, so I told him I was going to come by and help support him sometimes on that.
You said you started there as the music teacher.
Yeah.
Did this take you into higher administration, I guess, in other areas in the school?
It did, kind of by accident, because I never aspired to be a school administrator. My true calling to me has always been music. I have been having a love for music since, I guess, age 3 or something like this. So I was planning to stay in music, but something happened. The principal and I, Robert Johnson, became very, very close friends, and he had a heart attack. And because I had some military training, I got called to the office thinking I could resuscitate him. And when I went, the heart attack was massive. He'd had several before. But I tried, I gave him, you know, the mouth to mouth. I tried to resuscitate him. I did everything. I pumped, I did everything I could before the doctors got there, but it was too late. He was gone. So he really literally died in my arms, right there. And so when the superintendent finally got over there, he said, who's in charge here? And we didn't have a second person in charge. I said, he is. And I was pointing to the guidance counselor, who happened to be at the time a friend of mine, Elmer Cummings, who was the guidance counselor. And I said, he is, like that. So the superintendent said, well, Mr. Cummings, you have to take charge here now. We're going to dismiss school. We got to get the buses out. We got to notify the teachers. We got to notify the parents. So you got a lot to do, you know. So he kind of appointed me as his assistant. Just a title, no pay, you know, no extra, you know, credits to go with it or anything. But he said, I'm gonna make you my assistant principal. So that was my first taste of administrative things. So I became his assistant in name only, basically, and I would help when I could. We would go during the summer and make the schedule for the next year and things like that. So, but then integration came, and I got transferred over to what had been the white school, the Elm City School over there, and where I went over there as the band director. There was a choir director already there, so I went there as the band director. And in doing that, they also appointed me as the assistant principal. So now I have a title. You know, so now I'm officially the assistant principal at Elm City High School. Well, at that point, after being there a few years, the principal, who was A.R. Lamb, a good friend, good administrator, great administrator, was selected to be an assistant superintendent for instruction with Wilson County schools because there had been a merger then of the 3 systems. And so when he left, the teachers in a group came to me and asked me to apply for the principal's job. And I said, well, I have no interest in being a principal. You know, I'm a music person here. I don't even have degrees to be a principal, you know. So they said, you need to take this job because you are familiar with what we do at this school. You know the families, you know the students, you know how we operate over here. Won't you please consider taking this job? Well, I thought about it. I said, that means I got to go back to school and all these kinds of things because you have to be certified to be a principal. Well, I did a lot of heart searching on that, soul searching, everything on that. And they kind of talked me into doing it. And so I agreed to go back to school. I had already been back to graduate school. I had a master's degree in music. But now this means I have to go back and get a master's degree in education. So I went back to East Carolina. And I studied there and eventually became certified to be a principal. And by this time, the superintendent was Dr. Fields here. And then he went on to appoint me as the principal of Elm City High School. And I stayed at the principal of Elm City High School for the next 2 years at least, it might have been 3, before merger came again, and they decided to merge again and make Elm City High School, Elm City Middle School. You know, so I had a choice. They asked me would I want to go to Fike High School to be the assistant principal with Mr. Stock, or stay at Elm City Middle School and be the principal. I chose to stay at Elm City Middle School to be over there, since I knew those folks and everything else. But it meant some more education, basically, because being a middle school principal is different from being a high school principal. You have to know the demeanor of those kids. You have to know how they feel about things. This is a very awkward age. You're talking 12, 13, 14-year-old children who are caught between adolescence here and trying to be grown and still yet trying to be children. So it takes a special kind of person to be at a middle school. You know?
I'm sure you had a little bit of experience in that since you were a music teacher from first grade on up.
It really helped. It really helped. And I still do the same. And we're talking same families, talking same communities. So I termed my tenure as successful, because what I can do now as quote the boss, I can do things now and not have to be questioned about why I did it, you know, because these things I know these kids need. So I did a lot of things, I guess, that were off the charts. I knew my kids had never been on roller skates. You don't skate in the country on dirt roads. So I arranged for the people at the skating arena here in Wilson to come over once a month and bring skates. And I used the gymnasium floor. Now, you know, basketball coaches would, touch about that floors. You know what I'm saying? So I said, no, this is for the kids. These kids, think what we can do if these kids can learn how to skate. And it's one of the most successful things that I did. I just saw self-esteem rise. I mean, people who were sure of themselves because they could now skate. Simple thing, but they could skate. Other things. I said, nobody in this county is doing gymnastics. You're looking at all these things on the Olympics, and yet we have no gymnastics program. You know, where are these kids going to get that? So I ordered gymnastics equipment, and I put it in the gym. So the kids could be exposed to gymnastics, walking the balance beam, and getting on the parallel bars, and those we had in Elm City. Okay, I also bought keyboards, pianos. I bought a piano lab. I said, people are talking to me all the time, but we can't find a musician for our church. Okay, I bought a piano lab. You know, I put it in there. I taught it myself for a long time. And there are 8 pianos around. I'm trying to teach, and everybody has on earphones, and I'm teaching piano so they get the gist of this. Just that. I bought a guitar lab. The kids want to play guitar. So I ordered the Chet Atkins guitar course. You get about a dozen guitars, and the instructions are on the film, and you just put the index finger here, the little finger, and strum like this, and we went right down the line. And I'm teaching guitar because these kids needed this. In other words, I'm trying to do things now. I'm doing things now as, quote, the boss, that I don't have to ask anybody. I'm putting money over here to do these things because I know it's good for these kids. I want my kids to feel just as proud about themselves as the kid in Milwaukee, as the kid in Los Angeles, as the kid in Boston. They're no better than you. You have to do things that demonstrate that you are a sound person, that you can do just as well. And that's the attitude I want to do. I don't want you feeling second rate to anybody. So that's my job. I have to build pride in these kids. And so sometimes I say, where you from? They say, Elm City. I say, I can't hear you. What you say? Elm City. Say it louder. You know, it's that militaristic approach. But my aim was, again, to, hey, let's get some pride in where you live. Don't be, just don't be down on yourself because you come from a little town of about 700-800 people. That's just as good as the person. The person in Boston has maybe seen more, but you're still a person. And you can walk, you can talk, you can see, you have all these things in your favor. Don't sit there and be dismayed about what you don't have. Let's be blessed with what you have, and let's take it from there. And that makes sense?
It's almost like you gave them a sense of purpose.
That's what I wanted to do. Right. That was my purpose, to give them a sense of purpose. Once you have a sense of purpose, I think you can grow from that.
Now, I know this is taking place in the 70s. This is right after integration occurred. How how seamless was that transition, even if it was seamless at all?
Explain what you mean by seamless. What do you mean?
Well, I just know there for a while, I guess integration was kind of voluntary there for a little bit, and then it kind of, I guess, kind of became forced on everybody. They had to do it. You know, how did, you know, I know you went from one school that was black to one that ended up being integrated. You know, how did the students, even the parents, react to a lot of things you were doing?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that was an interesting time, a very interesting time. But as I said, there were 3 school systems in Wilson County, and I happened to be in the best one, believe me, and that was the Elm City unit. We had a very understanding and intelligent superintendent who knew that he couldn't fight this. The law had been laid down. HEW, every Supreme Court had put it down. This is what you have to do. So while a lot of other communities were fighting this, he said, let's embrace it. Let's do it. So he had the foresight to start putting us together. We had faculty meetings, black and white, meeting together, faculties. Then we had student meetings, the student council from the black school, student council from the white school. We met because decisions had to be made. Okay, we got to have a mascot. Okay, at Elm City, it was the Braves. At Elm City High School, it was, what was it? The Bears. Elm City Bears. Bears had a big bear. That's right. So hey, well, let's choose another one. We got to go separate. So we chose together the Vikings. You know, we got to do school colors. You know, we got to come up with some colors. We finally agreed on blue and gold. You know, on this. We had a school song, alma mater. So I had to write a new one. So I composed a new song. I composed a new fight song, a marching song, you know, and all this. But in other words, everything now had to be new. We started from scratch. This is the spirit of this, that we are a new body. We have just been reborn, and now we are going to succeed. You can't hold us back. We are a new creature here, and that's what we're going to do. Now, was it successful? Partially, because everybody wasn't buying that. You know, Jim Crowism and all this stuff had been embedded in people for years. And you just can't go in there overnight with a rule or something and say you're going to knock this out. So that didn't happen. In fact, one of my biggest disappointments, I'll never forget this, when I went there as band director, I was not the principal, I'm band director. And I'm just dreaming of what we can do. I'm putting this band together with this band, and I see the numbers coming. I said, well, this is going to be awesome. Elm City is going to be tough out here. I'm going to write new music, and we're going to be the toast of this county, you know. But it didn't happen. Some of the white kids got out of the band. Now, that kind of bothered me, because they didn't know me. They didn't know if I knew a whole note from a quarter note, you know. It really amounted to the color of my skin. I had the degrees, that didn't matter. I'd been to college, I had all this, so it had to just amount of what color I happened to be, you know, not what I knew. And that did bother me. And some of them who had their own instruments, they just didn't let them play. So that put us at a disadvantage at first. We were short on instruments, short on personnel. But this has always been my character, that if you tell me I can't do something, that makes me work twice as hard, because I'm sure you I can't do it, you know. So we went to work, and some of the white kids were just wonderful, just wonderful. They started calling me daddy. I'm serious now, yes. And they would do that on purpose sometimes. We would be at a place, in a restaurant or something, they come up, Daddy, give me another 25 cents so I can buy some pizza. And they did that so they would make the store people a little angry or something. They did it on purpose. But we had a lot of fun doing that. But they stayed. And we became better. We just got better. And the pride thing just grew. I never will forget, we were part of the band day at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And they had bands from all over the state at band day. And we arrived late. And I said, oh, we got to run and get in our seats. They said, no, let's march in. Oh, wait. You want to march in Keener Stadium? Yes, sir, we want to march in there. Man, those guys got in the drums, hit up there, and they marched, and you would have thought it was University of Michigan coming in there. They were so proud. They stepped. I was so proud of them. And when they marched in, everybody stood up and applauded them. That's all they needed. That's all they needed. They thought they were University of Michigan or somebody, you know. And we were probably the smallest band there. But a lot of pride, a lot of spirit, you know, and things like that. So, that was my disappointment with to answer your question, with integration. But that got better. The white kids that did stay grew. You know, I had an experience one day, never forget this. One of my majorettes, they would always come by my office, just sit down and talk. And she came one afternoon, she started to cry. And I said, what's wrong, what's wrong? She said, I'm just so upset, I'm just so upset. I said, what's wrong, you know? I almost called her name, I won't do this. She said, my daddy, my parents been telling me that all black folks would steal, and they stink, they didn't smell good. She said, and you aren't like that. I said, I don't steal. I said, do I smell bad? You know, she said, that's the problem. She said, everything they've been telling me is not true. And I love my parents, you know. And I tried to console her, and I said, well, this is not new. You know, this is not new. This has been going on for years. And I gave her other examples of when white parents had basically sat their children down to tell them these things. And I said, you have to make judgments for yourself. You judge a person by what you see in that person, not by the color of their skin and things like that. But a person is a person. I said, if you were to cut my hand right now, my blood would be the same color as yours. But the exterior is a different color. But I'm a person. And you must judge only on a soul basis, on a person. And but she was really, really upset about that. And there was the same lady, same girl. I would never leave the school until all my kids were home, you know. And one night we had finished a football game and she was left. I mean, we stayed and I got to stay with her, you know. So right now we're the only two at school. I got a little white girl, black band right there, out here. I said, where are your parents? She said, I don't know. They should have been here a long time ago. But now it's about 11:30. I said, well, something's wrong here. I said, come on, get in the car. I'm taking you home, you know. She said, no, but I'll do it. I said, no, get in the car. I'm taking you home. So I drove down the road here, and she said, you can put me out right here. I said, put you out where? There's no houses out here. She says, just put me out right here. I said, no, I am taking you to your house. Can't you see me putting you out here on the highway someplace out here? You know, you see, you know, no, it's not going to happen that way. So I drove to her house, right up to her front door. I went in the house, and I told the gentleman, I said, we had been waiting for you to pick up your daughter here, so I had no alternative but to bring her home, you know. And he was gracious, and he thanked me for it. But little things like that, where you had to say, this is what's right. You don't do wrong because somebody else is doing wrong. See, all this other mess is wrong, you know, for many, many reasons. But it's been like that over 200 and some years, and I can't correct it overnight. But I must continue to do right, because right is what you're supposed to do. Whether you understand that or not, that's your hardship. I understand that you're supposed to do right. I have to take care of these kids, whether Hispanic, whether white, whether black. All these are my kids. I must treat every kid as if he's my own. That's my birth child, and that's always been my philosophy. Treat every kid that way. Even when I became principal, and there was 600 and some kids there, I tried to know every one of them and treat them with some dignity and let them know that they were respected, and I wanted to see them achieve. I would get on their cases when they would make E's. My kids will tell you, I called them to the office when they made an E. I called them to the principal's office. I announced their name on the PA system. Elijah, will you come to the principal's office? You know, they know it. I did that every 6 weeks. And they would come and we would sit down and have a chat about why did you make this E? Why did you fail physical education? What in the world is wrong with you? You failed physical education when I see you walking around here every day. So that kind of individual care, you know, picking the kid out and trying to help the kid succeed. That's what got me through integration. We had some episodes. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, I spent the night downtown trying to keep our kids out of trouble. because they were angry and they wanted to break out window panes and police cars and set fires and those kinds of things. But I stayed down with them most of the night to try to tell them that's not the way. That's not the way to honor Martin Luther King. You don't do that. You don't do that. And so, you know, it has had its ups and downs. And I always felt it was going to be the best thing for us because our schools were secondary. I mean, when I say secondary, they were inferior, is what I mean here. We were using books that had been discarded from the white schools. We were using equipment the same way. The equipment that was there, like filing cabinets and all, were all second rate. And you could easily see that those of us who worked there knew that very clearly. We knew that. And yet that was the doctrine of the time, separate but equal. It was separate but unequal, you know. So I always thought that integration was going to be good for everybody and that we were going to have our flaws and ups and downs. If we could survive that period, then that's gonna get us all better. And that's what I try to do is you take a step back and say, this is the period that is happening. It might be 9 to 10 years, but that's a period. So you get past the period, and then you look back and say, hey, it was good, you know, so things are better.
Now I know that you live here within this community. How do you think integration affected this community here in Wilson itself?
Well, if you had been here in the 60s, you would have found Wilson was one of the last to integrate. I mean, the officials fought it tooth and nail. They fought it. That's all over the place. Didn't want it. A lot of citizens didn't want it. But it was the law of the land.
Now, did that go both ways, or was that more on the white community?
Well, yes, it's kind of both ways. Because, you know, in most of the cases, integration meant that you were going to be closing the black school, basically, you know. And that you were going to be displacing the black teachers and the black administrators. For a long while, I was among the few black high school persons in the state of North Carolina. Most of them had been moved, you know, to smaller jobs. And black teachers had been kind of displaced and things like that. So people didn't want to close Darden. That was the heart of the black community. So you're going to make it something else and things like that. So there was some resentment that way. But Fike was a newer school, you know, and had more things on it. And so money they started putting more money into Darden, built a nice auditorium over there. They would see 1,000 people, built a gymnasium, you know, things like that, more classrooms. And so that was a plus. The school later became an elementary school and things like that. But it was not a popular thing, and it just went on months and months and months with people still fighting to keep it from happening. But again, it was the law of the land. National Guard was in here, you know, all those kinds of things to make things happen. And unfortunately, you had to make people believe. You had to actually have a show of force with the National Guard and all those kinds of things to say, the law says this is what's going to happen. And so, you know, you push it down the throats long enough that you can step back and see that spirit of space and time again. You get past that. Now, most of those folks are dead, you know, and, who were doing that time. And I think it's working fine now.
Now, is integration part of the reason why all the school systems were consolidated together? You know, you had like Elm City, the city, Wilson City, and Wilson County schools.
Could I do what? Was
integration the reason that those are all consolidated together?
Oh, yeah. You know, 3 separate units. Now, I think at the time there were about 140 school districts in a state that has 100 counties, you know, and you would think it'd only be 100, but there were about 140. And counties like Wilson had 3 units in it, and that like that. But when even the state government wanted to consolidate, then we had to get rid of all these units over here. So they made Wilson County schools on that, right?
Now, you mentioned that you were principal at Elm City there for about 2 years.
Yeah, it was in high school.
High school.
Right.
Where'd you go to after that?
I became principal of Elm City Middle School. For about another 12 to 13 years. I stayed over there. And then superintendent called me to Wilson and asked me to consider accepting a job as assistant superintendent. Well, I said, well, I have a friend who had his doctorate and all, Dr. Cummings. I said, you know, I appreciate the offer, but I think he would do this better. You know, he's got more credentials than I do and those kinds of things. He's a friend of mine. I wouldn't want to say I'm stepping in front of him to take this position, and I offered to him first. You know. But that's not what they wanted. They wanted me for some reason of that. And in fact, they talked to me several times about taking the job. They gave me all kind of reasons about my demeanor and being able to get along with all kind of folks. You're telling me all kind of stuff. I don't know. But I eventually accepted the job. You know, the job had to be advertised and all, and I eventually won the position. So I became the first minority to be a part of the superintendent's office on that. And Mr. Harry Howard, who was my predecessor, was retiring, and I took his place as assistant superintendent. Yeah, that's what I did.
How long did you stay there with the superintendent's office?
6 or 7 years before I retired. I retired in 1994, and I stayed assistant superintendent for, it was either 6 or 7 years. I was going to retire in 1993, but my wife retired in 93. And then a new superintendent came in, Dr. Denlinger, and we didn't want to leave her high and dry there because Ray Lamb and I both had talked about retiring. So, well, we don't want to walk out on the new superintendent. Let's stay another year to get her acclimated to what goes on in Wilson County. So we stayed another year, both of us did. Yeah.
Of course, you spent all these years in education, but I know your other true love is music.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that you formed the group, The Monitors.
Oh, yeah.
You might be able to tell us a little bit about that and about when you first formed that group and, you know, kind of where you've gone to today.
The Monitors were formed again in 1957. I had been playing with another band called the Cavaliers, and it was called the Cavaliers because that was the name of the club where we played, the Cavalier Club. But when I came to Wilson, I was rooming with Cleveland Flo. We happened to be the band director at Barton. And I said, Flo, we ought to organize our own band over here. I keep running to Greenville to play with the Cavaliers, and we got enough talent here in Wilson to form our own band. He said, I think you're right. So the two of us, we hired a bass player named Charlie Farmer, who was right here in Wilson. We got a drummer out of Little Washington, Charles Emanuel. Then we got a guitar player out of Little Washington named Clarence Harding. And we just said, hey, we can play this, you know. And so we decided to have a name for our group. And the name came from the radio station called The Monitor. And this is before your time, but here, they used to be on the radio, you had separate newscasts. You had the news, the weather, sports. These are all separate programs. But when The Monitor came along, I think it was an NBC program, they put it all together. In the same 50-minute format, you had news, sports, weather, you know, the whole deal. So we said, hey, that's what we want to be. We're going to be the Monitors because we're going to play all kinds of music. If someone comes up to us and says, I want you to play the Pennsylvania polka, we're going to play a polka, you know. If someone comes up and says, I want you to play the T for two cha-cha-cha, we're going to do that. If someone wants anything that's rock and roll, soul, or funk, or jazz, or whatever, we want to be so versatile that we can play that. Consequently, that's where the name The Monitors came from. And that's what we did. We did that for years. And we worked quite frequently because we were one of the few bands in the area that could do that. You know, if you came up and said, can you play Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven? Yeah. You know, not that someone's going to ask you, but we wanted that kind of equipment that we can handle that. And that happened. So people hired us, and we worked extensively all over North Carolina, up and down the East Coast, and just played. And so the band, while we've changed personnel over the years, I'm the only original one that's left. We've been here since 1957. Here it is 2014, and we are still playing.
Yes, we did interview one of your members a few months ago, Sam Latham.
Oh, yeah. Sam came later. Sam was not our first drummer. Sam was off with James Brown and Otis Redding and touring. But he came home, and we were playing, and he wanted to play with us. Horace Raper had been our drummer then, and Horace had an offer to go country. He loves country music, so Horace decided to go to country music. And so that moved Sam right in. Now, that was in the 60s. I don't remember what date it was, but it was in the early 60s when Sam came. And he's been with us ever since. Yeah.
How did, when you were working with the monitors and you're also in the school system, how did that work? I know sometimes school administrators will look on somebody playing in these dives and stuff.
That is a great question. That is a great question. Let me tell you what I did. When I got appointed assistant superintendent, I said, well, I don't know how this is going to work. Here I am, assistant superintendent of Wilson County Schools. That's a pretty important job, And yet here I'm playing in the nightclubs and things like that. I better go ask about this, So Dr. Fields was the superintendent then. And so I said, Doc, can I have a meeting with you? He said, come on in, Bill. So I went in. I said, listen, I need to ask you something here. It's been kind of bothering me a little bit. I said, I'm a musician and I still play. He said, I know. I said, how do you feel about me playing in the band and being assistant superintendent? I said, I'd hate for you to walk into a place one night and you see me up there on the stage or something, and folks are drinking in the audience and dancing and partying, have a good time, and you come in and there I am up there playing on the stage. How do you feel about that? He said, Bill Myers, I really don't give a damn what you do, as long as you do what you're supposed to do in this office. That was a quote from him. I said, I got it. I said, I promise you, I will never embarrass you. I will never do that. I will conduct myself as a gentleman at all times to do that. But I do enjoy playing, and I would love to continue doing that. But he made it very, very clear where he stood on that.
I know that the monitors is known, around here locally very well. And I know somewhere, I guess I heard stories that you had some people that sang with your group that ended up getting some more national prominence.
Oh, you must be talking about Roberta Flack. Yeah. Roberta Flack was our first vocalist. The way we met Roberta went to Howard University. And her roommate happened to be Cleveland Flo's sister. They lived in the same room at Howard. Well, Roberta got a job in Farmville, 18 miles from here. And we heard that she was there. And so we went down to talk with her, and because we were organizing this band, and we said, we'd like you to be our vocalist. Now, Roberta's a fantastic piano player. A lot of people didn't know that, but we wanted her to sing with us. And she did that. She did that all that year. We would go by and pick her up, get her back home, but that was kind of an odd time for her because Farmville is a very small community, and people had expectations of school teachers, and they would see us bringing Roberta home 3 o'clock in the morning, a car full of men, she's the only female there, what in the world, this school teacher hanging out with all those men coming in this time of morning, you could see the blinds going up, people looking out there, and that kind of stuff. And so Roberta didn't care. Roberta was her own person, her own fine person, she had a lot of thoughts and things that she wanted to do in Farmville, but Farmville wasn't ready for Roberta, that kind of thing. Roberta was going to be Roberta wherever she went, and but she was progressive. She wanted to make things happen for those kids down there, and she only stayed there 1 year, but that was good for her. So she left, went back to Washington, and there Bill Cosby and what's Q's name? Not Quincy Jones. I can't call his name. Anyway, they discovered her at Hollywood Bar. She was singing, doing piano, things up there. And like I said, the rest is history. She went on with that to be Roberta Flack. Major recording artist, heck of a singer, heck of a musician, a major force in the music world. Yeah, so we had her back here in Wilson. I forget what year that was. I was the president of the Arts Council. I had become the first minority to become president of the Arts Council in Wilson. And we'd had Ray Charles the year before, and I said, hey, let's try Roberta. So we brought Roberta Flack back here. In fact, it was held over it was Atlantic Christian College then, and we had it in the gymnasium. And she did a heck of a concert. We hired people from the North Carolina Symphony, but the monitors opened up for her. We did about 30 minutes, and then she came on and did a fantastic concert, fantastic song.
Did she do any singing with your all's group too?
No, she did not. No, she had her own arrangements, and that was significant because that was the first time I'd seen that. The concert was almost being delayed because one of the people had come to the wrong airport. They went to Raleigh-Durham to pick up one of the musicians, and for some strange reason, they took him to the Rocky Mount Wilson Airport, and we were holding up the concert, so she said, I can't go on without him. I have to have him. And come to find out, he was doing the computer work behind her or something. I don't know if it was the melting of the voices. I don't know what he was doing, but he had his laptop back there. He's just working stuff while she's singing, He said, I just can't do it without her, without him. And but it was a great concert, just tremendous concert.
Back in those early days when y'all first formed, what kind of places were y'all playing at back then?
Any place, anywhere, anytime. We've been in some dives, we've been in the country clubs, we've been in the auditoriums, you name it. We wanted a reputation that said that we were decent people. That we were not hoodlums, even though I can remember one place, it's not too far from this country club, that we went in there and the lady come rushing out the door. Now, y'all wipe your feet before you come in there, wipe your feet. Like we didn't know we were supposed to do that, Yes, ma'am. But we were nice, yes. So we all wiped our feet. We went inside. And now don't drag that heavy stuff across this floor. Yes, ma'am, we got it. We've done this before, so we all make sure we didn't scratch the floor, we did that. We put it down in place. But I was having some stomach problems for some reason. My stomach was upset. And I said, I don't know what's happening here. I said, my stomach's kind of upset. If I got Alka-Seltzer? No. I said, I just need a ginger ale or something to sell something before we try to play. So the buffet table was already laid out. And so I went up to the buffet table and I took a cheese cracker. I took one cheese cracker and I went up to the table and got some punch. I ate the cheese cracker and I drank some punch. That's all I did right there. The next thing I know, here comes the whole serving staff. They took the whole buffet down. They took the whole buffet table down as if I had contaminated the whole tray. Everybody said, did you see what just happened here? Did you see what just happened? I said, yeah, we all saw this, But those places weren't that big, That's the classic example of somebody who was from the old days and hadn't gotten out of that. They thought that we had, whatever they thought, I don't know what they were thinking, but it wasn't good. Very obvious that it wasn't good. We haven't played at that place since. We really we've had no invitation to go back. Not that we didn't do a good job. We played for the dance that night. We did our best, and I thought we did a good job. But we've never been invited back.
That how long ago was that?
This is back in the 60s.
Really? Okay.
I mean, that place is still around. That place is still around. But we haven't been back there since. And a few other places like that. We had an episode at a nice place in Greenville. And this is a fault of ours. But we went off, took intermission, and the man said, okay, guys, doing a good job. And he gave us some shrimp and shrimp cocktails, and one of the guys kind of grabbed at the shrimp. We were sitting at a big green felt poker table, and he knocks over the shrimp and all this cocktail sauce on this green felt table. Oh my God, man, we scrubbed, we washed, we did everything. You can't get that stuff out of it. Haven't been back there. That was our fault. This guy just grabbed it, like he was gonna get all this, like he wasn't gonna get any shrimp. I said, man, be cool. You gonna get some shrimp? Let's pass it around, But he grabbed it and turned it over. But most of the places we've had good success. You can always tell if it went well if you're invited back. Only one place I remember where we getting ready not to play. This was in Goldsboro, and I was playing vibraphone, and when we went in there, the stage was tiny, and you could not get the drummer and the keyboard player and the vibraphone on the stage. So the stage might have been a foot off the floor. I said, well, no problem. I will put the vibe down here on the floor, and you guys operate up here from the stage. We're still close enough to each other to play together. Well, I set up my vibraphone, and I got it down here, and I'm playing. And all of a sudden, the manager comes up here, hey, who told you to put them damn bells on my floor? What kind of bells you playing here like this? And I said, well, sir, there was no room on the stage. Where should you want me to put them, like this? I don't care, but you got to get them off my, floor like this. I said, well, sir, I tell you what, I really don't need this. I just don't even need this. I said, you come in here, it's not like we did something intentionally trying to harm your floor. And as you see, I have not harmed your floor. It's got rubber wheels on it and stuff like this. And if you have to treat us like that, then we don't need to play. I said, come on, guys, pack it in, because I was the leader. Pack it in, let's go. So the guys start taking down the drums, and I start, no, you can't leave here, these folks. You can't go in the place, you can't leave. I said, well, we just refuse to be treated like this. I'm sorry, So he apologized and kept apologizing. So he said, just please play the job for me, So we went back and finished the job. But we haven't been back there since either, So, but other places we played, and we've been everywhere. We've been in the big convention halls and the country clubs and the joints, I try to stay out of joints, even now, if I pull up to a place and I gotta start looking around where the exits, I'm gonna get out of here in case something starts to happen, because I've been there. I played in joints a long time, so I know joints, I don't do that anymore. You just get in there and somebody wants to start fussing, and the next thing you know, somebody's got a gun and everybody's running, or something. So I don't need that. Just don't do that.
There's bottles thrown around the bar. And
well, you're right. They start throwing things. You got to get out of there. So no, I try to stay away from those places now.
They were never throwing anything at you all, were they?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid so. We've had many episodes. Like we had one of the guys in the band who he just drank too much. We knew he was going to drink, but he would drink too much. In fact, he played saxophone, and he pulled his whiskey down into the bell of the horn, and as he played, he brings up, and he's drinking while he's playing, that kind of thing. And after he really get intoxicated, he wanted to go hit on some of the women, and most of the women were married women. And then somebody gets mad with him, then they want to fight him, And we had a fight just about every Sunday night. We played at that place every Sunday night, and just about every Sunday night there was a fight. And he was in the middle of the fight. And they said, Bill, aren't you going to bring it up? No, I'm not. I didn't start it. You can let him take care of himself. Everybody get in that fight.
How was his playing those nights?
Well, his playing was really never all that good. But people loved him. People loved him. He had a lot of show with him, Here's his example. Now, this is crazy. This morning when I rose, I put on my clothes. I walked down the street and a man hits me in my nose. What's up with that? This guy. He said that little verse, and the people would crack up with that. It made no sense. But it's like he had this little prose spit going in here, and people just laughed, and they just loved him. And then he'd blow, he'd jump up on the table, he'd jump back on the floor, he'd lay back on his back, and he'd just blow on his horn. What I call people listening with their eyes. They really weren't listening what he was playing. They're watching his show, So they loved him, and people would pack the place every Sunday night, primarily to see what he was going to do, because he did something crazy we never knew what he was going to do. We would look at him like, I can't believe he just did that, and we never knew what he was going to do. We just had no idea. His son plays with us right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
His son plays in our band right now, you know. And he's got some of those same tendencies sometimes. But we're not sure what he's gonna do, you know. It's wild, it really is.
Y'all still go to that place?
No, I don't go back there. But believe it or not, that club is still there.
Really?
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there. They changed the name. Like I try to put the club scene down. You know, I'd much rather be doing a concert. Now I really prefer that rather than playing for the dance. The dance scene has changed so drastically. In fact, I was just telling the guys in the band this the other night. We have to keep up with new line dances. There's like a new one that comes out every week, you know. And you got to stay up with that if you're gonna go play for the dance, because they expect you to play that. I want to back it up, you know. You got to play that, you know. It's like shake your tail feather. These are line dances, and if you go to play them, you don't know those songs, and they don't think you play well. We might have played. Our harmonies might have been superb, our timing and everything, but that's not what counts. Do you know shake your tail feather? Can you play back it up? Can you play blurred lines? I mean, that's what's happening right now. And so we have to do that, and if we're going to do it. So it's changing so rapidly that I'm saying, you know, I'm really not into playing all these dances. I'd much rather be doing concerts. When I do a concert, I can take you back and show you where the music came from, because that's what our youngsters don't know. They think rap is brand new. Rap's not new. Rap was done many, many years back, you know. And they come up with things that they think they just discovered. But I can take you back and show you, no, it happened back here, down on Bourbon Street, down in Storyville, and all these things. And this is where this how this emerged. So you need to know the history of the music, and I can do that in a concert, you know. So that's what I like doing now.
Well, guys, we have a little time here. What were your musical influences? You know, you like to play a lot of this, you know, R&B, jazz, even some classical. Where did that come from?
Well, I've always wanted to be a musician. As a child, I'm not going to go back to my babyhood. I had a very that's significant, because you have to understand that part of my life to understand the next part. I had no prenatal care and all this kind of stuff, and I was born, you know, illegitimately and things like this, and I was very sickly. In fact, the midwife brought me